We are being recorded. Hello, welcome everyone. We are in this incredible moment. I'm really excited to be here and share the star wisdom for right now. And more on all of that momentarily. I think I'm going to stream this if I can easily do this. I think I'm going to stream it into this group. Yes, the Venus Wisdom Collective. If you are not in the Venus Wisdom Collective and you would like to be, let me know. I can hook you up. You can just request to get in there. And if you know how to turn your video off and you could do that, that would be so awesome. Not that I don't love to see your beautiful faces. We might do that at the end, but then just it's less distracting too for me talking. Thank you. Yeah. Hi. Hey, Susan. It was nice to see you. Get a peek. It's nice to get a peek. Okay. So we are going to begin. So I want to start with an invocation in a sense to this Venus in Sagittarius energy. And I'll say more about me and all that, but I want to just begin with the energetic of where we are in the Venus movement through the sky. So right now in the sky, Venus is in the sign of Sagittarius. And so I wrote this piece and I reposted it this morning, and I was just really feeling into it and loving it and wanting to invoke that as one of the layers. We're going to go into a lot of different layers today about the meaning of now. There is a lot going on in the sky story, but I want to read that first. Okay, here we go. So Venus in Sagittarius is a lover of freedom, and she aims for the stars. At her best, she embodies truth and radiates the warmth of fire. She's a visionary, truth seeker, and wanderer at heart. She is too generous because it brings her joy. She's connected with her own wildness and is happiest moving among trees, rivers, deserts, and sleeping under the stars. You may find her riding a motorcycle to Mexico, hitchhiking through Europe, or making home in a van that can bring her from one adventure to the next. When she tends to the flame of her heart, she is enthusiastic. Oh, I don't know what happened with that. Hang on. I don't want the recording to stop. Oh, so it still is. Okay, pardon me. She gets easily distracted too. So perfect Venus and Sagittarius segue there. She's trying to do it all. When she tends to the flame in her heart, she is enthusiastic for new experiences and adventures and says yes to more. That is a key word for Sagittarius. More please. Yes. She is optimistic that the dark nights of the soul will yield new visions and that the future holds possibility. She longs to go higher in learning, philosophy, religion, spirituality, all maps of reality. She wants to understand the cosmic order. She hungers to learn, to synthesize knowledge from different places, traditions, segments, into a unified whole of truth. She wants to go beyond the edge of the known to learn something new and expand her understanding of life. One of her superpowers is to focus and stay present as the tension of the bow is drawn back, waiting until it is time to release the arrow at her target. This power is cultivated over time as she matures. She can be restless and leave what she's doing for what she sees on the horizon. She can shoot her arrow in too many directions and scatter her energies. Her unconscious sense of wrongness can manifest as a need to be right. Her righteousness can be an obstacle in feeling and connecting with others who have different perspectives. She can have blind faith and lack discernment in following the guidance of those who she sees as wise. As she matures, she learns to stay, even after the excitement has passed. She makes friends with the ordinary and can find beauty in the mundane. She humbles herself to the details and either engages with them or steps aside to allow those attuned to the micro to give them voice. She learns to temper her bold truth-telling with kindness so that the person on the receiving end of her reflection can soften and open to her perspective. When she discovers the glory of self-honesty along with sweetness, her growth expands rapidly. If you love a Venus in Sagittarius, support her in her quest for space and commitment to knowing truth. Be ready for a journey into radical truth-telling and adventures of the heart through taking risks at every step of the journey. Whew. Okay, how's that for some Venus and Sagittarius medicine? So I would love, your participation in this. If you resonated with that, if you have Venus and Sagittarius, I'd love to hear in the comments. I'd love to hear in the chat, how that landed. Does that sound like you? Now, if we're a woman, we tend to embody this more ourselves. If we're a man, we tend to project this onto who we are attracted to, if, whoever that other is. So even if you don't have personally Venus and Sagittarius, you have Sagittarius somewhere in your chart. You might have other things in Sagittarius. So that writing was really the spirit of Sagittarius and invoking that, because we're moving into this very powerful, rare moment that's happening in Sagittarius that includes Venus. And so this is in the field, the Sagittarius energy. And I'm just curious to see, I'm going to take a pause and see if this streamed into Facebook. If anybody is in the Venus Collective, yeah, Wisdom Collective. Okay, I don't think it did, but it's good. We can post it later. So Emma's laughing out loud because that description is so on point. Beautiful. Okay, so this is really good. So we're gonna talk about our personal Venus and how this can resonate, and then we're gonna talk about this applies to everyone right now. This kind of energy is lit up for everyone, and it's going to be lit up for you somewhere in your chart. Wherever you have Sagittarius in your chart is getting this blessing. It's getting this Venus and Jupiter coming together at the galactic center. And so it's really good to know where that is. And the way that we know where that is we know where our rising sign is. We know what sign was on the horizon at the moment we took our first breath. And that is going to set the entire chart. So we'll talk more about how to dive into there. And some of you that already know how to do this, you want to be looking at whatever house you have Sagittarius, because for this whole next week, we've got a lot of inspiration to dream really big. We're coming out of some hard times. We're coming out of this really deep dive into Scorpio energy, into the transformation where we have to bow to what we're letting go of. And so Sagittarius really is the optimism on the other side of that. After that darkest night of the soul, we feel like we're going to die. We feel like we've lost it all. We feel like there's nothing left. And then behold, rebirth. There's that spark. And that's the optimism that we can keep coming back to that. We can keep aligning with that innocence of rebirth, of like, I'm going to keep going. I'm going to keep expanding into possibility. And then that can help us to meet the harder parts because we have that faith. Sagittarius is very much connected to faith. So that's the cultivation of faith. And in time, that faith really gets tempered with wisdom so that there can be this true resource within us where no matter what happens, we can feel the faith. And you find this in people that have a lot of faith, that are either deeply religious or deeply spiritual, that no matter what happens in life, no matter how hard it is, they can take this perspective that somehow, somewhere, it's not meant to be, but that they can, you know, survive it, and something else will come. If that, you know, that's better than to say it's all meant to be, because it's not necessarily how I would hold it. So who am I? I didn't introduce myself because I wanted to dive right in there with that Venus in Sagittarius invocation. So my name is Sasha Benedetti, and I am living here in Northern California. As you know, if you've been following the news, or if you live here, we've just gone through this continued incredible, challenging time with fires, and last year floods, and more fires this year, and power outages. And so we're really in it. I mean, we're really, it's landing here in California that life is changing. Life as we knew it is changing, as we've, you know, been feeling for a while that we can't keep going in the way that we've been going. So I'm in the heart of that, and I'm really, really tapping into and using what I've learned through syncing with the Venus cycle, which I have been doing since 2012, as a resource as things get difficult, or as fear comes up, or as it's just hard to stay optimistic. It's hard, you know, it can be hard to have the boldness to be like, okay, everything's going sideways. I'm doing a class, there's no power, which was what happened for my last class. And I'm rising to the occasion anyway. I'm bringing my offering anyway. In fact, I'm going to be even more bold. I'm going to be even more who I am. I'm going to be even more inspired, because if not now, when? And that's the medicine of coming out of the Scorpio time, because Sagittarius follows Scorpio. I just had a lot going on in Scorpio since the beginning of October. And so it's really that understanding of impermanence, that this is not going to last. None of it. It's the good stuff, the bad stuff. And in Buddhism, it said that if we just did one thing, we just contemplated impermanence, that would take us all the way to enlightenment. And that's really always landed with me very powerfully, because I've happened to have a life, back to me, where I've met a lot of obstacles. I would say that I've been initiated into the underworld from a very young age, and I've learned how to be powerful, even though there's those experiences of the underworld. And I've learned to really resource through nature, through the earth, through the cycles, through the animals, the elements, all of it. And then when I added this layer of Venus in 2012, it just completely changed my life. And it felt like that transmission coming in really helped me to navigate in a new way. I had been very much working with moon cycles as ever since probably my mid-20s. I've been doing moon ceremonies and moon cycles, and I really felt like I wasn't resonating with that as much anymore. And when Venus came in, it gave me a different way to connect with this feminine energy, because all of these planets in the sky are representing something within us. As within, so without. As above, so below. It's that mirroring effect. So I don't believe that the planets are doing anything to us, but they're reflecting us, and they're holding us, and they're mirroring us in certain places. And so Venus is mirroring us in our heart, in our feminine wisdom, which is our heart wisdom. And so I have been an astrological coach and a wellness guide since 2014, the Venus in Capricorn cycle. And I am just doing my soul work. I am just so absolutely aligned with supporting. It's been mostly women, but I also work with men, but to really drop into the deepest level and use the star map to know our purpose as things get more intense on this planet, to really know who we are and be willing to see all the way to the depths, and to live from that place, and to live from our center, and to live from our heart, and to create our lives from that kind of beauty, as well as the wellness piece, where I support people in seasonal detox 4 times a year, because the shit is getting deep here. as far as staying well. And if you're a sensitive person, you know what I'm talking about. I mean, the level of toxicity is just off the charts. So I'm very passionate about that piece as well. So I would say that I've been an apprentice really to the sky wisdom and this earth wisdom. And it's really brought me deeper and deeper into the feminine mysteries, because the message, the transmission during that 2012 moment when I got to actually see Venus cross the face of the sun, which only happens once every 200 years, we get to actually witness that, is that it's time for the return of the feminine in partnership with the masculine. It's not an either or. And so it's really this forging this new empowerment of the feminine, of the heart, of the embodied place within us, which we can detect. We can know that a lot of indigenous people who've lived on this planet, we're all indigenous somewhere in our ancestry, had an intimacy and had a way of living in their bodies that is quite different than how we live now. And that, you know, there's a way that as modern people, our feet don't quite touch the ground often, right? We're so up and we're so doing and lifted. So this Venus wisdom can bring us deep into our heart, generally speaking, Venus in the sky, and then to know our own Venus map, to know, well, what is my Venus, is an incredible gift, incredible resource to get dropped into that and to begin working with that. Because once you open that door, that sky wisdom, that Venus wisdom will start talking to you, in my experience. So I think that's enough to say about who I am. And I encourage you and I welcome you to just drop any questions in the chat as I'm going along the way here. So if you know your Venus, and it's okay if you don't, I'd love to have you write that in the chat if you would be so inspired. I kind of want to see who's in the house. Who are the Venuses in the house that heard the call and said, I'm going to come to this Zoom. So if you don't know where the chat is, it's down at the bottom of your screen. And once you put your cursor down there, you should be able to see chat. So, okay, Venus in Taurus, and we know we have a Venus in Sag. Emma's holding it down. Yeah, great. Yes. Yes, Jessica, that's what I'm asking for. Venus in Taurus, perfect. Venus in Scorpio, oh yeah. Feather, I know you. And yeah, your rise in Sagittarius, you're getting a big bless right now. Venus and Leo, great. We got Venus and Leos in the house. They're definitely interested in the you know, they're very, Leo and Sag, of course, they're fire. So they're similar. Venus and Gemini, beautiful. Yes. Okay, Venus and Libra, yes. And Venus and Aries, okay. We think, well, we gotta find out. Oh yeah, that's right, Jennifer, Venus and Gemini. So yes. Okay, so you're having an opposition. You Venus and Gemini women are having Venus oppose your Venus. So that is also quite powerful. Beautiful. Venus in Capricorn, Elizabeth. Yay, so glad you're here. First house conjunct the ascendant. Oh, wow. Yeah, so Venus is really central to who you are. And then another Venus in Aries. Wonderful. Okay, thank you. So let's unpack this. What I'm thinking I'd like to do is just really go into the map of what's happening and go through the different layers of what is the cycle that we're in. Right now it's Venus and Sagittarius, but that's connected to a larger cycle. And it's the movement of the cycles that I've actually found has so much more meaning in understanding astrology. Personally, you know, if you don't want to learn astrology and learn all of it, you know, I don't think that that's necessary to receive this wisdom, just to say that. And what I've realized recently is that I do astrology really differently than a lot of astrologers. I'm not super linear, and I'm just not in that, you know, left brain place where you know, I simplify it. I really just, I don't use that many aspects. I don't, you know, just keep it really, really simple because I have more than enough for what I need. And, you know, if all you do is track Venus, you're going to have a lot. You're going to have so much, because what my experience is in what's getting empowered in us is our heart. And the heart is this incredibly integrative place. It's where everything meets. And when we shine the light on that, what I found is that a lot takes care of itself. When I'm paying attention to that and moving with the Venus cycle, and it's like other things just come in and it becomes really effortless, because it can be overwhelming, not just astrology, but any map, anything. Right now we have so much info, so much data coming at us. And so just to let you know that, you know, you can just, you can just watch Venus and not even know the whole cycles. And it can really give you something. So I'm going to talk about the cycle right now and kind of drop you into where we are in that cycle. And then I want to talk more about the personal versus, you know, what's happening in the sky and how the two intersect. So what would be the motivation for you to know more about your Venus placement, sign, house, and then where your Venus is in the cycle makes a huge difference. So are you a morning star? Are you an underworld? Are you a evening star? Or are you a, what I'm calling reset, which I don't know about that word, but it's kind of just that period where some people call it a second underworld when she goes retrograde and we can't see her when she's resetting. It doesn't feel like underworld to me. So I'm really playing with language around what that part of the cycle is called. So retrograde Venus might be a way to say that. So if you do know that, you can drop it into the notes. So I'm not going to read them all, but I'm just going to kind of watch the notes and see who's here. So that gives a whole other layer of meaning to your feminine dharma, to how you show up in relationship, how you experience pleasure, how you receive, how you connect. We all do those things differently. So there's such, right now, it's like there's such a plethora of offerings out here. It can be so overwhelming, right? It's like, oh my gosh, I could do that, I could do that, I could do that. It's like when we know who we are, when we know what we need to receive in order to evolve and grow in the deepest way, it is such a freaking relief, right? Because we don't have to do it all. We really, it's not all appropriate for us. So there's like a cohesion that I've found, a cohesiveness that I've found really begins to happen in understanding astrology at whatever level that you do. And, you know, it goes on forever. Okay, yay, another morning star Venus, wonderful. So the current cycle that we're in started back in October 26th of 2018. And the reason that this whole last month plus has been so intense is it started in the sign of Scorpio. So there was the depth, there was this, you know, Scorpio is so much about death and rebirth. And in order to die, we have to see all the way through. We have to see the shadow. We have to see that it isn't going to last. The things are going, you know, that life is fragile. We see the suffering in a certain way. It's a lot about how do we meet suffering, because every loss is a mini death throughout our life until the day that we take our last breath and the day that we die. So that Scorpio energy was really like, to me, it felt like a lot of the disowned feminine got touched upon, because the cycle, when Venus was with the sun, and there, okay. So when Venus starts the cycle, she's with the sun. If you're looking at the screen, you can see that this is Earth, and then this is Venus. I know it just said sun, but that'll be sun, okay? So over here. So there's like an alignment of the three of them where they're coming together. And so when that happened was in the sign of Scorpio. So there's a certain quality of transformation that is asking to happen in this cycle. But the very interesting thing is that as Venus pulled out, you know, and pulled kind of away from the point where we can't see, because when Venus is here, too close to the sun. So as Venus gets a little bit of distance from the sun, right, we can see her as morning star first. So when she was first visible as morning star, she was in the sign of Libra. And she hasn't appeared in the sign of Libra for 155 years. And when you go back in the history, there was a lot around the suffrage movement. It was a lot around women's rights that was happening around that time, the last time that she was appearing. Now, the next cycle, which will happen in 8 years. Now, if any of this detail, just let it wash over if it's too much. But in 8 years from now, she'll appear again in Venus and Libra, because she repeats every 8 years. And that will be both times, both when she's with the sun in the inception. This is like conception in a way, right? So what is getting conceived when Venus is with the sun is, it's like the quality of the light of consciousness that we're meant to embody, to learn about for 19 and a half months, because it takes that long for her to go all the way around behind the sun and then come back to that position. So it's a map. It's instruction on how to embody light, enlightenment, essentially, and these different qualities, because every sign is a different quality of consciousness within it. So we get these books. Every Venus cycle is a book of that quality of feminine consciousness. So it's unusual that they're straddling two. So we've got the depths and the heat and it's like the challenges of the Venus and Scorpio meeting with the equity and justice and balancing of the Venus and Libra. So there's something really special about this cycle. It's a transitional cycle. And so because of that, I feel like there's an ability to bring forth those distorted, unseen, unloved, the rage of the way that the feminine has really been dissed in this culture, in our own being, everywhere, like to bring it out for healing. But then when we bring it to other, to do so in a way that is diplomatic enough and graceful enough that we can be heard. There's like a real bridge there that I think is very powerful. So that moment of the Venus and Scorpio, and then soon the Libra, it infuses this entire 19 and a half month cycle that will end June 3rd, 2020. So it began October 26, 2018. It will end October 3rd, 2020. It's 19 and a half months approximately. So we're learning. We're learning about how to bring up our deepest pain and our deepest wounding and our fear of death and our fear of annihilation, and the ways that we have been totally we've been totally dominated by a certain consciousness that is threatened by the feminine. You know, it's like the hurt of that, the pain of that is getting this opportunity to come into balance, like a radical rebalancing within our own relating within. And so what that means is that this cycle, the Venus represents our feminine and the Mars represents our masculine for everyone, no matter what gender. So it's like a radical rebalancing of our wiring, and not wiring, I don't like that word because it sounds so not organic, not human, but our design. So we're designed with this primal pair of the feminine and the masculine energy, the yin and the yang, that makes up all of life, all of creation. It's the creative force. And it's been pretty whacked, right? We live in this super masculine, driven world, and we've all morphed to meet that. And so it's been really interesting to watch this cycle, because, there's been so much about the feminine rising, feminine rising and women rising, and we're rising together. And it's like a lot of that kind of theme. I watch these things in the collective because I'm watching the larger theme. So I'm watching all that play out, and then boom, in the underworld for the summer, basically. When did we go into the underworld? We, really, she was not visible after like June 27th. I mean, that's what the book says. I'm trying to remember in reality if it was really that. I think it actually stayed, she stayed visible through early July, if I can remember correctly. So, so then we're dying. We're dying to who we were. We're dying to our ideas of what does it mean to balance? You know, what does it mean to have feminine power? What does it mean? You know, all of that, really getting a total death, a total surrender, and to hang. And that was it. That was a summer hanging in the underworld. Venus unseen. In the most ancient story of Inanna, she's hanging on the hook, and she's rotten green meat. I mean, this is what it says in the text, you know, that's been translated from clay tablets written in cuneiform. It's like hanging on the hook as green meat. Like there's just nothing left at that point. And all of our ideas of beauty, of being an object, of being sexually pleasing, like that's so gone. It's so beyond. We're just completely done. Completely. And it's so interesting because this happened during this cycle when she's hanging out in that state, that who shows up in the underworld? Who shows up but her beloved Mars? So that was pretty interesting. Mid-August, Mars came and met with her. They had a conjunction, we couldn't see it, but they were in the sign of Virgo. If you have planets around, I think it was 5 Virgo, very potent healing, because the masculine meeting the feminine in that place, there's nothing for him to love but her essence. That's all there is in that place. And so there was this deep invitation for us to find our love for ourself at the essence level, beyond what we look like, beyond our accomplishments, beyond, you know, our impact of what we can magnetize to us, or, you know, what we can create, really just the deepest essence. And then she rose in early October. And of course, she's moving through signs this whole time. So she started in Scorpio, but she's moving through the signs about a month. She's about a month a sign. So those are like the chapters in the book. Okay, so the book is Venus in Libra / Scorpio. This is the cycle for 19.5 months. And then each chapter is showing us a different expression of how, you know, how what are the lessons? What is this going to look like? So she rises in early October, and she's coming out of the underworld, but she's still in Scorpio. So she still has that quality of deep, hidden desires. Where do we feel disempowered? How do we hold power? All of that is still really happening, until she went into, you know, Sagittarius. I felt like at the beginning of November, it's kind of like, okay, new vision. Okay, whew, like kind of shake it off. Even though she was visible for a whole month, it was like she still had like the underworld clinging to her in a way. You know, it was still like happening. Side note, but very important too, is that Mars then went into the morning sky. So they switched places. So it's pretty cool. They met in the underworld, and she went into evening sky, he went into morning sky. So there's this real dance between the masculine and the feminine playing out in the sky. I mean, it's just really interesting. And I always love it, the way that these things repeat and articulate, you know, that we'd be in the cycle about balancing. That happens to be when Venus and Mars actually meet up in the underworld. And then they're going on their journey in 2 different skies, you know, mirroring each other. So that brings us to now. She went into Sagittarius on the 1st. And she, as she goes down, so she starts out as the morning star. So she did that last November of 18. And she starts to be lower and lower on the horizon. She's surrendering all that is not necessary in order to find that essence. But then in the underworld, she's like cooking in her essence. And then she comes up and she's remembering the lessons of being in the underworld, and she's demonstrating it. She's remembering it. She's embodying it. She's showing it to the world in a way, not by what she says, by who she is, right? So that's, you know, that's kind of the movement there. And the interesting thing is, you know, in the story of Inanna, as she goes to the underworld, she makes that bold decision that she's going to see her dark sister Ereshkigal in the underworld. So this is the original split of the feminine nature, the top side light and the dark repressed and energy of the dark feminine, you know, and once they were whole, right? So this is about 5,000 years ago, we see that split. So she makes that impossible decisions. She's the queen of all that. She's the queen of heaven. She's got a lot of power, a lot of influence, beautiful, potent, makes everything on the earth grow. And so it's like that young morning star energy. So you morning stars, you know that energy. It's like that morning star energy is like about you. We need to, it doesn't matter how old we are, we need to do things and we need to see what happens. You know, we need to just, there's a boldness there of like, well, what would you do if you could do anything? Like, let's do it. Let's find a confidence that's only going to, it's only going to be strengthened when we take risk. That's a way to say it, you know? So that's morning star. And then as she moves every month, she meets the moon on her way down for about 5 or 6 conjunction. A conjunction just simply means that the two planets come together and that they are visible together. So she's moving down and it's like the guardians at the gate of the underworld, and every gate she has to take something off, starting with her crown, which is pretty like, wow, jewels, lineage, status comes off, you know, and then her, I don't know what those are called, those little bindi things, you know, that thing, and then down, till she's naked and bowed low. So that meeting of the moon is waning as she goes down in this 19.5-month Venus cycle. In the morning star phase for about 6 months, the moon is waning. So she meets the waning crescent moon down. Boom, in the underworld, can't see her, still meeting the moon. We just can't see, right, from Earth's perspective. And then she begins to come up, meeting the moon for about 5 or 6 months. And I mean, she's meeting the moon, but we can see it visibly for 5 or 6 months. So when she meets the moon, it's like a re-empowerment. So first she gets back her crown, and that happened, for some reason I'm totally not remembering when she first met her moon. She's about to meet the moon again next week. So it was in October, and I'm gonna have to pull the calendar down to look. If you know, some of you are Venus geeks, feel free to put it in the chat. But that is an important moment. And it's a piece that I really wanted to bring into this class, because it's a piece around working with the moon in a different way, right? So it's like bringing together moon and Venus, as moon is in either the morning star, she's waning, and when Venus is evening star, the moon is waxing for those 5 or 6 conjunctions coming up, right? So she's growing, she's getting empowered, she's moving. And so working with those portals has been incredible for me. So if you're already working with the moon, it might be something that you would consider looking at those dates and adding them in. It's very different than new moon, full moon, because when we're just working with the moon itself, we're working with a satellite that's going around the earth. It's really tucking us in. It's our patterns. It's the ebb and the flow. It's our bleeding, our fertility. You know, they're very synced to there. It's like the backbeat of our ordinary life. And in a way, it's the backbeat of our safety. What keeps us safe? It's familiar. And there's something about the moon energy in the way that I have studied astrology. It's linked essentially with the egoic safety, the way that we keep ourselves safe. Even if what happened was hard, it was safe. The past is safe because we survived and we're here. And so there's a way that we take that past and we make it into a lens, and we, of course, we put everything through that lens, our whole lens of experience. And so when we begin to work with the moon in relationship to Venus, we're totally changing the game. It's not totally fortifying that level of kind of the new moon and the full moon. It's bringing in this other level of the feminine consciousness with the moon, you know, as that empowerment of Venus moving out of, either going in, or right now she's moving out of the underworld. And there's a lesson for her. There's something for her to bring forth. And so those dates, and the next one will be next week. I'm really looking forward to it. It will be the second empowerment. It's on the 28th, and it's on Thanksgiving. So it will be basically the second chakra, you know, kind of the next level from the first chakra. So if you want to do ceremony, if you want to really tap into this other quality of the feminine, if this would be a really good day for you to do that. As long, you know, and if you're into the moon, you can keep working with the moons, other moons. If you're not, this gives you a way to harness that cycle. She'll be really in her, I mean, it will be just after the new moon, but she'll be really in her next sign of Capricorn at that time too. So when we start to move into this Capricorn energy, we're looking at manifesting. We're looking at manifestation. We're bringing those visions, those highfalutin Sagittarius visions, into the world, into something we can touch. And so, you know, I'm going to be talking more about that, but that would be something I would encourage you to put on your calendar and begin to know when those portals are. Okay. So this is where we are. We're on the second, about between the first and the second meeting of the moon, coming out of the underworld and really learning how to navigate from this place of vulnerability, the power of vulnerability, and how do we hold power is always this lesson within this initiation, this feminine mystery of Venus. And so whatever we learn this summer, whatever got taken, whatever feels really tender, you know, there's some medicine there in, we get to be different now in some way. We get to soften in some way. We get to bring that into our world, and we get to remember like the tenderness of that time. And we may make different choices now. We may be more connected to our deep heart, and we may not be making our choices so much from here, the top side mind. We may be feeling more of, well, what do I need to do? You know, what's next for me? So what else did I want to say about that? If you have any questions, feel free to drop them in. But that's a good, I mean, that's a good kind of container and synopsis of where we're at. There's this other piece around Venus and Sagittarius, which we get to ride, you know, all the way through the 25th of this month. That's about the sensuality of truth. And I would say, you know, when we're living more from this place of the Venus wisdom, that intuitive understanding, that intuitive insight comes in through the body. And this is going to be very much the case for the next 7 years, because we have the big revolutionary Uranus is in the sign of Venus. So the message is that the revolution is it's in the body, it's in the feminine nature. Okay, galactic center. So today, and you know, Jupiter's been hanging out there, and Venus is coming up to approach this point called the galactic center. And the galactic center is this really incredible point. You know, we can't see anything there. I mean, it's good to know if you have anything there. 27, 26 degrees Sagittarius is where the galactic center is located. And that is basically, there's a huge black hole larger than our sun at that point that we can't see. And our whole galaxy is revolving around that point. And so the energetic of that is really this cosmic womb energy. It's like the chaos that everything emerges from. And that everything goes back to. It's like the feminine, the deepest feminine mystery behind the manifestation of our galaxy, behind the form, the physicality of our galaxy. So this is a beautiful time to be dreaming big. Do not hold back from whatever got taken during the underworld time, whatever revelations you had. It's really, you know, all systems go as far as breathing life into that, breathing inspiration to that, and really bringing who you are, because that's the greatest gift, is to bring more of our authentic selves into what we're doing, and to make a bid for your soul path, make a bid for your soul work, no matter what that is for you, that it's something that you get up every day and you love doing. It's something that sustains you financially. It's something that gives you the freedom that you want. It's, you know, what we do on the daily is, it informs everything. And in some ways, you know, money is not that important, but in other ways, it's so important. I mean, it informs so much of what we can do. And so Jupiter is considered one of the benevolent planets, as well as Venus is considered the benevolent planet. And in the sign of Sagittarius, which Jupiter rules, so it's even stronger. It's like Jupiter's in its home sign at this galactic center with Venus. It's just like, okay, I hope you will be making some big prayers, big wishes, from deep in your body, you know, is one part of it, you know, like that kind of active, you know, masculine in a way, like wishing, dreaming, what do you want? Like, what do you really want? That part of it. And then the stillness of sitting in and receiving in your deep heart whatever guidance you need right now from the mystery. So I would encourage you in the next week to, and especially, you know, I mean, I would encourage you to get this, this Venus in Sagittarius energy at the galactic center in the next 3 days, right? So with the sun also, you know, at the beginning of Sagittarius, but it gives it this extra quality to go out and to find a spot where you can see the western horizon, and to sit and to really feel your spine. That's the way that I'm experiencing that, is like the strength of your masculine nature, that tall, you know, straight spine. And then let your tissue, let your body just soften, and allow yourself to come into whatever practices you do, whatever breath, to slow down, watch for Venus. And she's pretty high now on the horizon. So she's not, you know, she's not that hard to see, and Jupiter's right there with her. And to gaze, to stargaze, to gaze as if you would gaze upon someone you loved, or someone you admired, or someone that you wanted to get to know. The ancients really believed that this light coming through our eyes from the planets was a transmission. And I definitely experienced that in 2012. A direct transmission from Venus saying, the wisdom is in you. All of this astrology that you love, it's in you. And it's in the body. You know, all that wisdom is encoded in our body, in our soma. So it's encoded in you too. It's all of us. And so what is it you need to know right now when you slow down? And especially if you've worked with me ever, you know that the soft jaw is an incredible way to come into a more spaciousness within. And getting to that soft jaw, imagining that you're going to kiss someone. What happens to your lips? What happens to your jaw when you imagine you're going to come in for a kiss with a beloved? So that opens this gate here that's very much about control and you know, lots of things in that control. And that is what is leaving. That's another class, but that's the Capricorn energy that is in the last hurrah. May it be so. That dominator driving us till there's nothing left kind of energy. destructive. So softening that and inviting in the sweetness of being here now, and really feeling how your jaw connects you to your womb, connects you to your pelvic floor, and to just drop into that space while gazing, and to actively make a choice not to know, not to not to make meaning of it yet, but just to be in the not knowing. And the way that I do that is I like to just say, I'm choosing not to know. And I can just say it quietly to myself. I do it all the time, all day long. Let my jaw be soft. I like to say my name because it really grounds me. My name is Sasha. Choosing not to know. And you can try that now if you want. It like opens up the space hugely. And it gives your mind something to do. It gives that busy, busy mind something to do. And then also choosing kindness, because that is scary oftentimes, to drop into the mystery. And so to hold ourselves in kindness there, in that place, and to stay as long as we can in that spaciousness. That is your heart space. That is your Venus space. And there's so much wisdom there that's before the words, before the meaning. And so I encourage, in this radical rebalancing of masculine and feminine, that you do some fierce masculine intention setting, prayer, dreaming, active, talking about it, like really stir up your deepest desires. And then you also spend some time dropping in spaciousness, not knowing, really feeling your body. I like to go out and Venus gaze after I've been active, taken a bath, or done something to help me come into my body. Venus is so much asking us to please be in these bodies. They're so precious. They're so limited. You don't have them forever. And it's such a gift to be embodied on this earth right now. And there's something so special that each one of us has to offer just by being who we are. And then there's something so incredible we have through our doing, too, the masculine part of us. Both are needed. So that's the practice, the Venus stargaze with Jupiter at the galactic center. Super special in this moment. And I think that's all I wanted to say. I'm just going to look at the chart and take a breath. See if there's anything else I wanted to share with you about timing. I think I did want to give you the exact of when those two are coming together. Feel free, if you have any questions, to put them in the chat. And I will do my best to answer them. I'm just trying to see when our exact, I like exact. I just recently, I'm having my birthday soon, December 1st, and I just found out that exact moment of my solar return. And there is something powerful about that. Okay, so they will both be at, Venus and Jupiter will be at 28 together exactly on the 24th. So on Sunday. Yeah. So, I mean, but we're in a portal. We're in a window. There's lots of time. Such a pleasure to be here with you all. Beautiful. I think it's all women. There might be men. I'm not seeing them. It looks like there aren't any questions. I'm not seeing any questions come in. I know that was a lot to digest, perhaps. So, most important thing is that if you do one thing, just to maybe look up and say hey to Venus and Jupiter in the sky, and just know that there's a reflection there waiting for you. And if you want to go deeper, I'm here. I'm doing some really sweet specials on sessions, astro sessions. You can see where this lands for you personally until the end of the month. And I've never done a short, not never, but it's a short session. It's 45 minutes. So it's really, short compared to what I usually do. And I'm doing it for $69. So you can get that Venus code of everything about you with Venus. And then I'm also doing another one that's a Hieros sacred marriage. It's the masculine and feminine within you and the love story within you, and just dropping you into that in this very focused way. And then I'm also offering with the deep dive sessions, which are 90 minutes of really looking at your birth chart, all of the masculine, feminine, your soul purpose, and then what's moving through right now, especially going into 2020. Like, wow, it's going to be epic. So I'm giving discount on that for $175, which is normally $225. And I'm doing gift certificates. So if you want to get your friends some astrology for holiday, really good time to do it. And I don't know how to give you the link now, but you can get in touch with me on Facebook and I'll get you the link for getting the gift certificate or signing up. And lots of love to you. It is so beautiful to keep sharing this Venus wisdom, and I really appreciate you saying yes and being here and dropping in this way. Where's the best place to find the Venus gates? The dates. I have an ephemeris, especially for that lists them all, but you can look on your calendar. You need to be a little familiar with visibility. That's a great question. So any astro aspect calendar is going to show you the Venus and the moon conjunction, right? So that's a gate. Whenever Venus and the moon conjunct, and then you just will know if Venus is visible, that you can see it. If it's not, it's not. And I'm kind of thinking I might put together a little calendar for 2020 so people can have it on the ready. It's been so invaluable for me to have that. So yeah, lots coming, more soon. Yeah, you're so welcome. All right, lots of love, everyone. Take care. Enjoy the Sagittarius energy. I hope you find some optimism. Hope you drop into your vision and just have some levity. It's time. All right. Have a great day. Bye-bye.